Hello and welcome to our first ever Reuse Rumble, the show where three challengers battle it out to create a wonderful piece of art with reuse materials. We have experts from the industry that will award an ultimate prize and answer your recycling questions. I'm your host, Jason Ramey.
And I'm Jessica Ramey.
And we're coming to you live from the Senator Hearing Room here in Marion County on Facebook Live, where you can get to ask all your recycling questions and the experts here will give you the answers. But first, let's meet our challengers. Our first challenger is here to cook up something creative. As an avid recycler, composter, and gardener, he puts passion into the planet into practice. Outside of the home, you'll find him strutting his stuff in his punk band, instructing students in business, or serving up paella at Salem's Saturday Market. Here's David Fox! Our second challenger is a New York Times best-selling author. She's a reporter, she's a copywriter, but most importantly, she loves to craft. She's especially partial to paperwork and needlecraft. And let me introduce you to the always intriguing Kelly Williams Brown! Our final challenger has been making waves in the Oregon comedy scene with her sarcastic approaches to life's puzzles. She performs improv at Capital City Theater, runs stand-up shows around the Pacific Northwest. Welcome, Emma Jonas! Now, Jessica's going to ask some bantering questions.
So, David, I want to know, what is your crafting strategy tonight?
Well, tonight I'm going to imagine my craft making set list. I'm not going to listen to it tonight, but I'm going to imagine it, and it will bring the energy I need to create.
Wonderful. Good answer, good answer. Kelly, how did you prepare for this evening?
I took a nap, and I'm feeling great. Naps and crafting are just, they go hand in hand.
It's helpful to be relaxed.
Yes. So much.
Very good, thank you. And then, Emma, what do you have that these other crafters don't have?
I'm quick.
Speedy, fast. Love it. Okay. So today we have expert judges from the industry. Hello.
Hello.
We have here Galen McAllister in the middle. She's a resource development manager for Garden Services and knows everything there is to know about mixed recycling in your curbside cart. Thank you, Galen, for being here today.
You're welcome.
We also have Julie Jackson on the end. She is a municipal community relations manager at Republic Services and is here to talk trash and recycling today.
All right.
Thank you for being here. And we also have Alan Pennington is in the house and is a waste reduction coordinator with Marion County, also my coworker. Lucky me, I get to see him almost every day.
Yes, lucky me.
And he is a master of master recyclers, and he's here to lend his expertise today. Thank you for being here. So we also have Jolene Kelly in the back, as well as CCTV is here to make this event happen. Thank you so much, Marion County, for hosting this event. Jolene Kelly is going to be fielding the questions on Facebook Live. So get your friends to tune in tonight. Go to Marion County Environmental Services on Facebook, and you can pose your recycling questions, and these expert judges will answer them. Also, Jason, I want to know, what are the rules of the challenge?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. Well, as you can see on this on the table set before our challengers, they've each been given a bag of stuff in lovely, stylish reuse bags. They have not opened up these bags. They have no idea what's in them. In a minute, they'll open them up to reveal special reuse items that they'll need to incorporate into the challenge. There are also some basic tools like scissors, low-temp glue gun, a sketch pad, a few basic supplies like masking tape and paint. You can choose to use those as you wish or not use them if you are ultimately skilled in that way that you can somehow create things without supplies. You have 40 minutes to complete the challenge and incorporate as many items in the bag of stuff as possible.
All right. So we can start the countdown clock almost in a minute, but I would like you to open your bags of stuff. Oh, am I? Okay, of course we are. Challengers, you will be judged on how you've incorporated your reuse items. So So everything from your bag, we would like to see you incorporated into this challenge. You will also be judged on your ingenuity and most importantly, your skill. So we can open the bags right now and look at the orange sheet. This will be your challenge for this evening. Each of you have the same challenge. Let's hold Emma's up right now. You will be making a mask. So spooky, maybe nice, it depends on you and how you're feeling this evening, but you are going to be making a mask out of these reused materials. So what else do you have in your bags?
Start the clock.
Yes, please, start the clock. Thank you, Jason. So you have cardboard, which can be recycled in your mixed recycling bin. You have bubble wrap, which cannot be recycled in your mixed recycling bin. However, it can be put with plastic bags and taken to grocery stores for recycling.
But it has to be clean.
Thank you, industry experts, for weighing in on that. There is elastic as well, which will probably come in pretty handy for your mask. There is a disposable water bottle, as well as beverage tops that cannot be recycled. This needs to get thrown away. So, you guys get started anytime now. Feel free.
You've already lost a minute. Well, that's pretty amazing, Jess. I don't know how they are going to be able to do this.
I know. It's interesting that David Fox is already getting in there, starting to cut. Emma is already figuring out how to make this box into something. And Kelly is really honed in on the paint right now.
That's a good choice, starting off with what colors you're going to use. That's good.
It's even harder when they have not been opened before. So that's the challenge, is opening these things sometimes.
Okay, judges, what are your thoughts on, now that you've seen what the reused items are, what are some of the things you're thinking when you're looking at this challenge?
I'm thinking I'm really glad I'm not one of the challengers.
I think that goes for all of us.
So, should we...
Yeah, let's check in with the Facebook Live. Jolene, do you have some questions? I'm sure there's already a list of questions that are coming in online.
So some people on the event have actually pre-asked questions, and it's hilarious because some of coworkers and we go through these things, and I started answering these questions ahead of time. I'm like, wait a second, maybe they wanted it to wait for this event. So here are some of those questions in the beginning.
You know, so we were looking through some of the questions, and I think a really good one to start with is the second one that we have on our sheet, which talks about, this person says, I heard recycling gets sent to China and tons of plastic still end up in the ocean. Is that plastic that contained food recyclable? And are there tax breaks for businesses that switch to paper straws or cardboard leftover containers? Are metal cans okay to put in the recycling? So this person needs a lot of information. And I think it's really sort of endemic of what's going on out there. We're all really confused about recycling right now because we're changing it up so much. So one of the things I really want to start with is this question about, I heard that recycling gets sent to China, because the truth is recycling has been sent to China over many, many, many years. And China has accepted probably what we would now call less than desirable material from the world, about 60% of the world's recycling. And China is looking to clean up their environment, and they've just said no to that. And so we want to support that as an industry, but we've sort of lost the biggest recycler of material. And now what we have to do is clean up the recycling. We have to create a stream of, not of wishful recycling, but of real material that really has a market, that really can be used to make new materials. And I think that's kind of the background for what we're talking about and why we're talking about all this reset in the recycle world. So I will leave it at that, and I'll let you talk about plastic that's contained food recycling. This person's
Sure.
next question.
So the person asks, is the plastic still ending up in the ocean that contained food? The plastic doesn't end up in the ocean because it contains foods. The plastic ends up in the ocean typically because no manufacturer wants to buy it. And manufacturers have a recipe for plastic they want to use. So if they don't want to, so if they can't make something out of it, they don't want to buy it. Lately, they've been even more pickier. They don't want to buy it if it has any food on it or any dirt that they're going to have to pay to clean up. So things that end up in the ocean because they go to another country that doesn't have strict rules about throwing things away like we do. We're lucky in the United States we have really strong rules about landfilling and safely disposing of trash. So when materials go overseas, we don't have control of that anymore. And then when we're sending things that manufacturers don't want, that they don't have a recipe for, that doesn't melt down easily, that doesn't turn into something new, they're not going to buy it, and someone needs to throw it away. So typically in especially poor countries without the infrastructure that we have, it either gets burned unsafely with lots of emissions or thrown in the ocean. So it doesn't have to do with necessarily having food on it that does it, but a lot of your food takeout containers, like clamshells and stuff, aren't easily recyclable, so that's what you might be thinking of. And when you can make a choice about things that are recyclable that are on our list, buy those instead of things that aren't on the list, because if they're not on the list, they belong in the trash.
And sort of keeping with the Rumble theme, we're going to tag team this a lot tonight. And one of the things that I'd like to add about that is that, I know it's really hard for all of us to throw things away, but the best and most conscientious thing you can do is really only put those materials that will really be recycled, because if they get recycled, they're not going to end up in the ocean. So the best thing we can do here is keep those materials, those plastics that won't get recycled, out of the cart and put a really clean stream in the cart to begin with. And hard as that is, I know it's really hard for me to throw away some of those plastics, but if they can't be used, I'm doing more to keep them out of the cart than to put them in and hope they get recycled.
So let's review also very quickly the plastics that can go into the recycle bin. There's only two types. We're going by types and not numbers and not signs or symbols or whatever. It's only rigid plastics that are clean and dry, and they are in the shape of a bottle or a jug. Look at that. We've even got some on display here. So, Ms. McAllister, what makes a bottle a bottle? How do I know it when I see it?
Well, gee, Alan.
Are you glad you asked? Or I
I'm
asked?
glad I have an example here. So people think they know a bottle when they see a bottle. Typically, it has a narrower neck and a wider body for it. So this is a bottle. This is a jug. And it has to, if you're into the nitty gritty, it has to do with how the plastic is molded or blown out. So the more flexible plastic that can be easily recycled is made into bottles and jugs. All the other forms of plastic that are molded are harder to recycle or impossible to recycle. So bottles and jugs is the only answer for plastic.
And then another good way to test yourself on that, I think, is just to ask yourself what you call it. So if I hold this up and I call it a bottle, I'm going to throw that in. Most of the time people hold up a peanut butter jar and they ask me if that's a bottle, and I say, what do you call it? And they say, it's a jar. So ask yourself that question. One of the things I wanted to comment on, and Alan touched on it, is on the bottom of most of these materials, you're going to see a number and a symbol. And anybody who's heard me talk about recycling knows that I always say this is none of your business. Never look at it again.
And
It
also,
doesn't really tell you anything.
sorry about that. Also, one of the things you have to think about too is the size of the container. Besides being clean and dry, it needs to be a certain bigness, and the bigness is there has to be at least a minimum of 12 ounces or greater. If they're too small, the problem is they just fall through the cracks. So when you think about it, most water bottles are at least 12 ounces. There's very few of them that are manufactured that are smaller. Doesn't mean they're not out there. So anything that we would think is a bottle, because as Julie said, we say, well, we call it a bottle, it's a bottle, but a lot of times we talk about pill bottles. Well, most pill bottles are kind of in that never land as far as whether it's a jar or a bottle. But the main thing is it 12 ounces or greater? Most of your medicine containers and pill jars or vitamin jars are usually smaller than that. If you really want to nerd out, get yourself out a measuring cup, fill it up to 12 ounces, and pour it into an empty one and say, well, Can I get all my water in there or not? If you can't, it's not 12 ounces and it doesn't go in the recycle bin.
Thank you so much for weighing in on those questions. They're really important. So we've learned a little bit about the plastics and what can be put in. There is another question that was posed, so I'll let you look that over while we check out our crafters right now.
I want to go through and slow them down here because we're at about 30 minutes, and they are sprinting here. So David, I know you make tasty paella. How does that experience play into your crafting here?
Well, making paella is definitely a creative process and something that, in my case, took many, many years of experimentation to come up with a recipe that I felt was worthy of being eaten. Typically, I do need about 12 or 13 years to get good at something, so I'm not sure how we're going to do here tonight.
You got 30 minutes.
I like that this tie, the color of the palette that you chose is kind of resembling paella, and it's making me hungry.
The golds and the reds, the gold of the saffron, which is actually right now is October. This is the month that saffron comes up out of the earth, and you can harvest the stigmas off of the flower that create the golden color.
And you've been growing your own, is that right? Because I was inspired, and I just purchased some.
Yes. So far this year, we've grown about 2.5 grams of saffron, and that is about 350 flowers.
That's a lot. Very cool. Well, thank you.
So Kelly, it looks like you are cutting down some cardboard here.
Yes, I am making a ocean-inspired, like sort of half mask, half headpiece that's going to also have a strong editorial stance about not putting plastics in the ocean.
Very, very nice.
And it looks like you did a quick sketch to get your thoughts on paper, just to...
I cut up it's not dry yet or even done, but I cut up my non-reusable water bottle to look like little tiny waves. So those are going to be attached across the top.
Oh, lovely. I can't wait to see how it turns out.
Only 28 minutes and 44 seconds. Emma, what are you doing?
Well, I've gotten into the paints and everything's out of my control.
I love the colors that you're choosing here.
Thank you.
You're really mixing these up well.
This is really bringing me back. I feel like I'm working some stuff out.
So you do improv at Capital City Theater.
Yes,
how does that play into what you're doing here? How are you taking these suggestions and running with them?
Well, when you do improv, you got to be okay with whatever's thrown at you, and even if it's a bag of stuff you probably don't want.
Love.
Yes. Well, stuff that should go in the other place. Okay. I'm trying.
So working with this paint,
I want it. I love it.
You got 27 minutes to make it dry. You think you're going to get it done in time for these judges?
Oh, I'm gonna definitely lightly blow on it for sure.
Is there anything you want your other challengers to know now that you've gotten into this?
Oh, I want them to know that they're both doing a very nice job.
Great. Wonderful trash talk. Yeah, so now we have gotten a question on Facebook Live. Yay! And judges, what question did we get?
So the question is to provide a brief summary of the recycling process from the curb to the recycled product. What are the major steps and how does it get processed? So I'll start because I work for a company that does the hauling. I'll talk to you about the first step. The first step is really in your home, and that means that you are responsible for getting the right material in that cart, and we are responsible for helping you understand that. One of the things we really, really, really want people to understand is that material needs to be what we call empty, clean, and dry. It's gotta be. We don't want food dripping out on other material. And as material is transported for processing, if there's food in there, it's gonna be moldy, it's gonna be awful, it's gonna be yucky, and there are people who handle it. So empty, clean, and dry is really the way to go. It doesn't mean that you have to get everything, perfect, but you need to get it at least rinsed out and shake out the moisture out of that material before you put it in the cart. So when you put it in the cart, basically it's going to go out to the curb, and unless it is very contaminated with big items that we can see, it's going to get added into the truck with all the other recycling from your neighborhood and from the place that you live. So make sure that you're being respectful of all the people recycling right by doing it right. You should have a list. If you don't have a good list, Galen held this up, but I'll do it again. If you don't have a list like this, call your hauler and get one, get another one. Look online and you'll be able to find it on the Marion County website. And make sure that what you're putting in is right. And one of the things that I get from people is they look at this list and they say, okay, but what else? This is it. For now, we want you to stick to the materials on this list and you'll be in great shape. Put those in your cart and get it out at the curb, and then it goes for processing. And Galen's going to talk about processing.
So the processing happens as soon as the hauler dumps all that beautiful recycling on the floor of our facility. And it's a mixture of people sorting your recycling and machines. So keep that in mind when you're thinking, do I really need to rinse that tuna can? You need to rinse it for the people who are sorting, and so you're not contaminating all the paper that's also in there. So it goes into a big hopper that mixes it all up and fluffs it all up, and it comes up. The first platform of people who see your recycling is about 6 people who work at the top of this platform, and they pull out all the things that'll wreck our machines. The number one thing that's going to wreck our millions of dollars worth of machines: plastic bags. Can you believe it? Little lightweight plastic bags. They damage our machines. They get wrapped around things. They jam them up, and they can make the whole thing stop. So those people are pulling out plastic bags, and they're pulling out hoses, and they're pulling out, big, huge bowling balls, and they're pulling out anything that people wishfully put in that shouldn't go in there. They're going to pile it up, and we're going to pay to send that to the trash. So if it should... I know. It's a shock to many people, apparently. And I can see the person thinking, well, it's too good to actually throw away. Let's give it to Garton, and Garton will figure it out. And in our system, where we get in 1 million pounds of materials a week, the way we figure out things that are not on the list is we have to throw them away, because we can't keep all the things that you want to send to us that really aren't recyclable. So they end up getting thrown away anyway. You might as well give that bowling ball to a friend or a thrift store or somebody who needs it, rather than have us have to bring it in, pay to process it, and then end up throwing it away. So there are a series of machines sort the paper products and the cardboard products away from the containers. We have people on each line pulling the trash out of the paper products, getting all the plastic separated from the paper, because paper mills don't want your plastic. They have a recipe. They just want paper. They're putting it in a big blender. If there's plastic in there, they have to pay to throw it away. So we have people pulling out trash, pulling out the bottles and jugs, and anything that's left over that's not supposed to be in there, we're going to have to send over to the trash anyway. So if it's not on this list, just send it to the trash from the beginning, or look for other homes for it.
And so the rest of that process I think we need to talk about is that from Garton and from other processors, once that material is sorted, because there's nothing that can be made from everything you mix up in that cart. It all has to be separated. Then they have to find markets for it, and that's becoming the real challenge right now, is finding those markets. And again, I'm just going to hammer this again. Anything you can do to make that material more valuable is really helping find those markets. So we are trying, especially on the West Coast, we're always first. We're trying really hard to get that material cleaned up and provide a really good, clean stream. I wanted to go to another question while we're talking about this. I think it's the appropriate time. Somebody has asked us, who's getting the money for our recycling? Ha, 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 ha. We all laugh at that because there's no one getting money for recycling right now. We are all paying to send material to be recycled. We think it's the right thing to do. It's a little painful, but nobody's getting paid for recycling. We are paying to recycle material right now. And hopefully that world will reverse and turn around again, but we don't see that happening right now.
Go ahead, you have something?
I don't have anything.
Okay, so I do want to ask the hosts here for this event, do you think that the contestants are going to be a little disillusioned when they find out that the judges have already won the trophy? Or is that not the case? Which one? No, it's a
a
group thing,
team.
Julie.
Well, who's taking it?
Well, we'll
And
decide.
we're all winners because of the information you're sharing with us tonight, so I thank you for that as well. Yes, that's right, challengers, if you don't know it already, that this trophy here could be yours if you've got the right stuff here for making your wonderful reuse art project. I see David's really going to town with these scissors. I've heard him over here clipping away. How's it going?
It's going great. Yeah, I have a great deal of history with scissors, and as most of us do, starting from grade 1.
Yeah, these ones aren't as safe as those, so are you sure that...
Look what you can do.
I like it. It's looking really good, and you're really spreading out, making full use of the space I see here. You know,
Making it mine.
yeah, that's good. Good, I like it. You make yourself at home. You know,
Yeah,
and we got Kelly over here.
I'm a taxpayer.
Still,
My house.
still working away, still painting.
Yeah, working hard over here. I think I did rub some paint directly into my eye.
On your cheek right here.
Yeah.
We've got.
It's color coordinated, so.
Look, this is a dangerous craft and a dangerous sport, and I knew that coming in. So I came to play.
You knew what the challenge would be. Yeah, totally. Okay, Emma. How's it going?
Oh, it's going fantastic. I've made holes that you can totally see through in this cardboard.
And that's hard to do with these kind of scissors. So what was your technique that you used to make these holes?
Oh, I perforated around and then I poked it really hard and the cardboard ripped. So
Well done.
I'm making all kinds of discoveries tonight.
No. It just sounds like an amazing technique, and I like the rainbow theme that we've got going on here. This is good. So, how are you going to attach that?
I have plans. I don't want my opponents to find out.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I don't want to give them any
I'm gonna
ideas.
steal my ideas.
We mentioned before that Alan is the master of master recyclers. Can he give us some information on how, if you wanted to be as amazing as these individuals, or even better, knowing stuff about recycling, how do you become a master recycler?
Well, that's a great question. I appreciate you asking, Jason. If you'd like to become a master recycler, it's a great time to ask because we've got a class coming up starting January 24th. So the best thing to do is to contact us. You can contact me, but anybody that I work with over at Marion County Environmental Services, you can go on the website and there's information there about the Master Recycler Program. And there's a link there where you can type in your email address, and then when we announce the class that's going to be starting, we will send you a notification with all the information. Then you can, you'll know, and then you can decide whether or not that's what you want to do.
Great. So if people want to find out more information, they can come to the website ncrecycles.net. Once again, it's ncrecycles.net. We are also on Facebook, which hopefully everybody's tuning into right now. Exactly, you're on Facebook right now, so send us your questions. But also we'll have this available for people to preview later because there's such great information. We are also on Twitter as well, so feel free to follow us. And we hope to have this event every month. Next month it's going to be at Capital City Theater, and we will hope to have these expert judges back again. So even if you don't get your recycling question answered today, tune in on our Facebook and you can ask it, or tune in next month and we can get those questions answered.
Well, speaking of questions, Jessica, we have one right here, and they're kind of two very similar questions. It's about cardboard. One says, can we recycle certain types of cardboards and not others? How do we tell the difference? And I bake a lot. Can I recycle all the cardboard that sugar comes in? I go through a lot during the holiday season. Well, don't we all? So how do we tell the difference? Well, first of all, if something comes in what looks like a cardboard container and it's not something that's going to have to be parked in your refrigerator or freezer, it can probably go into the recycle bin. But if it's something that has to be refrigerated, this is a great rule of thumb, or if it goes into the freezer section of your refrigerator freezer, then it can't. Why is that? Because it has some sort of invisible, which means you can't see it, lining and chemical hocus pocus done to it so that it will repel water and keep your frozen thing from becoming mushy. Nobody likes mushiness. So we want to not put that into the recycle bin because we don't have any venues for that can turn that pulp back into paper because it's all gelled together during that plasticification, which is a new word. But it's an important word that you understand. So, plastification. And it has, there are different dialects of that, of a way to pronounce that. So I've demonstrated both of them. Thank you. So when you think of the cardboards or paper products that you see out there, a true corrugated cardboard has basically 2 layers of paperish type stuff, and then you see the little wavy lines in between. Sometimes big cardboard has big wavy lines, and then some little pieces of cardboard are really thin, but they have the wavy lines. They're all corrugated. So that can all go into the recycle bin. It has still one of the probably more valuable things, right, Galen, right
It
now?
is, yeah.
As a processor. So definitely want to capture those. After a while, as paper is recycled and captured, it's captured and recycled over and over again, some of the fiber that is that comes from the wood, it gets shorter and shorter. And so they tend to blend those together and make a kind of what we call gray board, which is the kind of paper product that you might see in a cereal box or a sugar box. I think of those little boxes of brown sugar, right? And so those are, do we put those in our refrigerator freezer? No, we don't, okay? Even if it is Snap, Crackle, Pop, it doesn't go in the refrigerator. Those boxes can be recycled. What am I missing here?
Well, another good way to test, I think, that kind of paper board is to look on the inside, and typically if it's gray or brown, it's recyclable. If it has a white coating on the inside, often it's one of those that has some kind of material that we don't want in the recycling. That's most of the time. Wouldn't you agree, Alan?
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to let the challengers know you have less than 15 minutes. We're down to 14:05. 4, 3, 2, 1. 14 minutes.
No, come on.
That's pressure.
Here.
Jess, tomorrow's Halloween. Is that what inspired the mask theme here for tonight?
Absolutely. So every month we'll come up with a different challenge for our challengers. And in November we'll probably have something a little bit Thanksgiving based, and then in December something holiday based. So there's always some kind of inspiration. So when I was a kid, this is what I did normally. I would dig through the recycling and come up with cool stuff. So
Would that be turkey based?
So you're telling me that people can use reused materials in order to make Halloween costumes?
absolutely. So that's called creative reuse, when you take something that is normally made for one thing and you turn it into something else. You give it more value. You keep it around your house a little bit. I know that David is probably going to put this on his mantle at home, I'm sure, when he's done with it. Is that right, David?
Yes, I will have to rebuild the mantle to make room for it.
Of course, right. Or maybe on their car or something. Who knows where this is going to be seen. But we like to have fun with recycled materials and make them into art. And it's great for kids as well as adults to do so. I also wanted to point out that not only will they get a picture taken with a trophy, but the challenger who wins tonight would get a $50 gift card from either LifeSource, which is an Earthwise business, which is part of Marion County's programs. Businesses can get Earthwise certified, which is a very excellent program, so feel free to check that out. Or at our local art store. It's a locally owned art store. It's Salem Art Department, and there are great people there too.
And then these challenges already prove that they know their way around art supplies, that's for sure. And maybe would want to get some more art supplies so they can keep this up. Good job, guys. So did more questions come in from the Facebook Live?
Yeah, this one's kind of an interesting one, and we hear it a lot. This one says, a lot of people are saying recycling is dead, and they're just going to throw it away anyway. So, pot half full kind of
Happy
question.
thoughts.
So, what I'll say is that's absolutely not true. And what we're trying really hard to do is teach people how to get material in the recycling so that it doesn't get thrown away, so that all of it gets processed for recycling. Recycling isn't dead, but it's really important to keep in mind that in that hierarchy of reduce, reuse, recycle, what we all heard as children and we all know, recycling is at the bottom. So reducing the amount of waste is the most important thing you can do. And then reusing material, like we're doing here tonight, is really, really important. And then recycling comes after that. But one thing I want to talk about is wishful recycling, because this person also asked what % of materials is no longer accepted. And the answer is probably most of what isn't going in your cart now is material you should never have been putting in. And we've just all kind of gotten in this together and been pretty lax about letting material get in the cart that shouldn't have been there. And a great example, do you have in your bag of tricks a clamshell container?
I don't, because we only.
Because we don't use
Oh,
those.
this is live. We don't.
But what all of
We
that
didn't practice
big,
this at all.
giant clear plastic packaging that we all get so much of, none of that should have ever gone in your recycling, and now we're really becoming sticklers about not letting it in.
So could you explain what a clamshell is? 'Cause
Yeah.
we know, but I don't know if everybody
Yeah,
does.
so typically they're in the deli department or they're takeout food. They're kind of a clamshell container opens and closes like a clamshell, and they're hinged clear plastic generally. Sometimes the bottom piece is a black plastic, but they're that and also a lot of other clear plastic packaging. I always say if you grab a plastic container and crumple it up and it sounds crispy, that's probably not something that ever should have gone in the recycling. Things like big cake containers from the bakery, all those kinds of things. And then the other thing that we see a lot of that never should have been there is styrofoam. So those really big things are what are making people have a lot of heartburn, I think, about not recycling, and that never should have been there. The things we're not putting in now are much smaller, and I think people get them less frequently, like milk cartons and some of those things that we used to be able to recycle, yogurt tubs that we can't. So if I were guessing, I need you guys to back me up on this, I'd say maybe 20% of what we used to put in the recycling no longer goes. What do you think?
Right, and that includes about 13 to 15% where things like trash and glass that shouldn't have been there to start with. So glass, never, ever, ever put it in your blue bin. It's just a disaster.
And also, some people put diapers in the recycling, and I always have to throw this out because there's no disposable diaper that is recyclable. There never has been, and there never will be. And once it's used, it's not ever going to be recyclable anyway, and why would you put it in if it wasn't? And, that's a really common contaminant. So we're not only fighting that wishful recycling, we're fighting the people who are throwing in stuff that never should have been there, and that's a really bad example of something that we see a lot.
Yeah, and just to jump on that, I think the number one thing I heard from both of the processors that we send our recycling to was the number one item that they were getting, it was caused problem, were plastic bags. So just the plastic bags that you'd get at a grocery store or when you went to a shop, you'd come back and somehow they would end up in the recycle bin, and they cause all sorts of problems, especially you think at Garden Services when it goes cruising down the conveyor belt and it runs into those teeth and little plastic bags, and then what happens, Galen?
It jams up our machine, and it can cause, we actually have to pay people to go in every couple hours and cut plastic bags out, and that costs a ton of money that eventually the ratepayers pay for, and it also wrecks our machines and keeps us from recycling as well. So the plastic bags are a simple thing for you to remember. Just don't put them in. They just never, ever belong in your blue cart. We got a question. If in doubt, should we put it in recycling and let it be sorted out at the recycling plant? No. No. If you're in doubt, check it out, find a list, go to mcrecycles.net, ask your haulers if you're in doubt, or throw it out. But it should never be a choice of, let's let Garten figure it out, because when we figure it out, again, if it's not on the list, it's going in the trash.
So here's a really great question. This is, what do you all do to reduce your waste? Give us some tips so we can all give you some tips. Alan has probably the easiest one here. A reusable cup is probably the easiest way to reduce waste. Think about coffee maybe 300 times a year. Am I right? And
More.
300 or more cups, or that cup. I mean, that's a huge, huge amount of waste. Another great example is, as we get into the holidays, is durable dishes. I know that sounds crazy, but a lot of people eat on paper plates. That's just wasteful. And durable dishes are around. And, you know, I always hear that excuse that, it costs so much to use the water to wash dishes. If you have a dishwasher, especially a high-efficiency dishwasher, and you fill it up, you're saving a lot of energy over the cost of paper plates. And then cloth napkins. I have the same cloth napkins I bought 30 years ago. If you buy good ones, they last forever, and you throw them in the washing machine when you do another load, and they're done. There's no extra energy used to clean them, and they're a great example. Alan's got another one.
Well, I think it speaks for itself. If you can read it, it says, no plastic, no paper, no thanks. You know, they're talking about having a plastic bag ban in the city of Salem. Other cities in Oregon have done the same thing. But regardless, it's so easy just to grab a bag like this and use it over and over again. And a lot of us have them. You just got to train yourself to grab them when you go out of the car and head into the store. Are we running out of time here?
Well, challengers, when we started this evening, you had 40 minutes, and now we're down to 5. Where did the time go? David, are you finding that there are things that you're just not going to get to here tonight?
No.
You're getting it all in?
Turn it around, so.
Making it up as I go. I did have a question. How does the recycling program affect our garbage bill? How have things changed over the years since recycling has been reduced citywide?
You're not going to get more time just from asking questions.
Right.
You know that.
But it's a good question, and I think it's one that around the state, in over 100 cities and counties around the state, there has been a charge added to the bill because years ago when rates were created, they included getting paid a little bit for recycling, and as we said, now we're paying to recycle. We take it to places like Garten. Garten is finding markets where they have to pay to get rid of that material. So it is going to trickle down to the consumer, and I think the best thing that the ratepayer can do is to get the right material in the cart. The cleaner we get it, and the less work they have to do at Garten and other material recovery facilities where it's sorted, the more we keep the costs down.
Well, Kelly, we're getting down to the last 4 minutes. What have you found to be the biggest challenge here?
So honestly, I think the biggest challenge is just working with a cardboard. It's a pretty tricky medium. It does not bend very well. It doesn't flex very well. And so really you got to think about it twice, bend once is what I would say.
That's the key to cardboard. So we've got 3.5 minutes. Hopefully she's going to get that mass done. How about you, Emma? Where are you at in your process?
I'm just adding on the finishing touches here. I'm trying to incorporate all the other things on my table.
Yes.
That's a good tip. I don't know if the other challengers heard that yet, but Emma looks like she's accounting for everything that came in that big bag of stuff in the reuse bag, which is always a good idea.
Yeah, remind the challengers again what it is that the judges are going to be looking for.
Once again, it's incorporating all the reuse items. There was bubble wrap, plastic bottle caps, elastic, cardboard, and disposable water bottle. Also, they're looking for your ingenuity, and most importantly, your crafting skill.
Nice. Well, judges, is there sort of in these last few minutes anything that we can sum up tonight with regards to letting our Facebook Live viewers know that if there was one thing to walk away from tonight knowing, what do you want them to know?
I'd like to know them to know empty, clean, dry, and on the list.
I'm just going to stick with that. It's perfect information.
I want to know what the lottery numbers are going to be winning.
Wait, I switched to that.
And once again, you can download one of these posters that Galen, could you hold that up
Oh,
for
yeah.
people? You can download that at mcrecycles.net. Go to curbside recycling and it'll just pop right up and you can just download it and print it up, put it next to your recycling bin so everybody knows. Alan, would you like to talk about the bag?
Well, I just want to say that if somebody really would like one of these super cool and makes a statement bags, just contact us and we will get it to you. Okay?
Well, challengers, you're going to have to make sure that your stuff is dry within the next minute and 40 seconds. It's hopefully on Facebook Live, our viewers can see that it's coming down to the wire. We are hopefully going into some test runs, making sure these masks are working.
We'll also have our crafters present it to the judges and talk about some of the highlights of their piece when they're done. So it looks like David Fox is, done. Like, this is amazing. He already has, support here, too. He has other elements that he's added to his piece. I'm not sure what's going on with that cardboard, but it looks interesting. So some of the challenges are putting it on their head to test that out. That's lovely. I also like that Emma made some key component here are some little armholes for her shoulders to go easily sit.
Oh, they were a mistake. That was a very bad mistake.
It looks like a happy mistake, though.
It's true.
Oh no, something happened over here. There's elements falling off. Wet paint and glue guns sometimes is
I know.
really super hard. So I appreciate your tenacity there, Kelly Williams Brown.
I'm just giving it a go,
Yeah. You have a speech bubble on yours, which is very interesting.
I do, because my creation has something to say.
Lovely. Okay. So 19 seconds, 17, 16. Going down quickly. So judges, you ever want to be part of the crafting challengers ever in the future?
Yes.
Oh, Julie Jackson. I like
I'll
that.
do anything.
Lovely.
I will do it if I'm competing with 3-year-olds.
And we're
Okay,
out of
challengers,
compete with
step away
time.
from your creation.
You and me. Throw down, Alan.
Step away from the table. And you can step right in front of the table, actually, and bring your creations with you.
Can we see them up front?
Yeah, so what I'm going to have you do is probably stand right over here. I'd like you to stand right here so the cameras can see. And then I'm going to have you do a quick presentation about your piece. So here we have David Fox.
Hi, yes, this is the mask of shame and no remorse. And the bubble wrap up here is a UV blocker. With our ever hotter summers, you need some UV blocking to protect your retina. Yes.
And I noticed you have some paint on your hands as well.
Yes, that is also sunblock.
Very nice. Does your piece have a title? Did you give it a title?
Yeah, the mask of shame.
Shame. I love it. Okay, very good. Kelly Williams Brown. Oh, and you have it on your head. It's lovely.
Thank you. This is garbage jellyfish. And even though garbage jellyfish is made of garbage, she still doesn't want your garbage in her house, which is the ocean. So keep it out. She's saying, I don't want your garbage. This is featuring tentacles made of bubble wrap. We've also got the smaller frill that jellyfish actually use to expel things. That's made of little curls of the non-reusable water bottle. And normally jellyfish don't have human eyes, but this one does, because she's got her eye out.
She needs to. You never know what's in that ocean, right?
No, you don't. There's a bunch of gross garbage. It's so depressing.
I remember as a little kid, I used to walk the beach and make sandcastles. And now when I walk with my children, I see plastic everywhere. So this is a great representation of that.
Well, thank you so much. I like to stay on trend.
Thank you. Emma, what do we have here? Can we stick this?
Yeah, there you go. Oh, this is Pleasant Recycling Unicorn.
I like the smiley face, so I know it's pleasant.
Yeah, that's the pleasant part.
And the lovely cheeks, but it also looks like you've done a really good job of incorporating all of the pieces of the challenge today.
Yes, I have.
Okay. Thank you, Emma. So I'm going to have the judges go into the hallway to kind of debrief a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit more to the creators here today. Oh no, David Fox, I noticed some paint on your pants, so we'll have to take care of that so it doesn't dry. Everybody else looks like they are crafting pretty clean though, which is pretty good. I'm sorry, what did you say, Emma?
Oh, I think I have some paint in my hair.
In hair, yes, that is actually a bonus. So yeah, that's how you know you're legit. And you know, everybody has something somewhere, so that's lovely. Jason, do you have anything to say?
Well, I just wanted to hear from the challengers kind of what they thought about the process. Is this something that you'd want to do again? Is it something that inspired you?
So I would absolutely love to do it again. I think it is really, really fun to just try to make something beautiful out of materials that we normally really would not even think about before we throw them away. The only thing is that if we do it again, I would love to have an even stranger assortment of stuff, and maybe not even any craft supplies.
Ooh, harder. Wow. Okay, you're making it hard for other challengers, which I love.
I'm through the door, so now whoever comes behind me can just,
Your skill level, though, is pretty great. Weren't you one of the first, or actually the person to make the micro garden? I mean, you're not new to crafting.
No, I'm not. Actually, I craft a lot. Not normally out of garbage, usually a lot more embroidery and clay and that sort of thing. But yeah, no, I love making things.
Awesome. How about you, Emma? Do you craft at home?
No. No, I doodle sometimes.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, and then you do improv, which is also a creative endeavor.
Yes, it's mental crafting.
And if people want to see you do stand-up or improv, how can they do that?
Oh, they can catch me at Capital City Theater. Most of their shows, I'm somehow involved. I also run the stand-up showcase every first Wednesday at the Space at 8:30.
People are hungry on a Saturday. Where could they go? Now the market's closed. You're usually there.
April through September at Salem Saturday Market, Paella.
But you are also having a show coming up.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Tomorrow night at Taproot, I'm participating in another show. But on Black Friday, City of Pieces will be playing at Governor's Cup.
Great. So people can reduce their consumption and come to that Black Friday event.
Increase their consumption of local arts.
Oh, even better. That warms my heart. Okay, we have.
Well, I'm amazed. The judges are already back. This is pretty amazing to have come to a consensus so quickly.
So maybe if you could come through each of these contestants and then say what you like about it, and maybe what the challenge was for each of them, and then we can eventually reveal the winner.
Should we start?
Get up and go.
One at a time. No, you guys can be right here.
Okay. So we'll start with David. Really like David's use of all the materials. He had a really good use of color. I like the springiness of the water bottle on the top. That added a lot of movement to his piece. And I guess that's hair on the side, David, the orange hair.
It's whatever you need it to be.
I think David's the most enthusiastic use of all the materials. Whatever that means.
Yes. And he was quick. And yeah, I agree. Well done. Kelly Williams Brown. You know, it was funny because I saw that look of desperation in your eyes. You really, I did a flashback to a third grader of looking over her shoulders going, oh my God, all my classmates are ahead of me. And you had that look, and then all of a sudden, poof, you got this mask. And it reminded me of the Pirates of the Caribbean, you know, that one guy that's the kind of octopus guy? And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I didn't see it coming until you picked it up and put it on. But you did a great, I love the trick with the plastic water bottle and the bubble wrap.
And the unicorn, we love the unicorn. It's really whimsical. You did a great job using all the materials. It's just really, really fun and really tidy and clean. Really well done.
You know, I do want to know the winner, but we actually have time for one more question, if you don't mind doing that. We have I know. I really want to know. So feel free, challengers, if you'd like to sit down and take a break, take a drink of water from your reusable bottle. That would be great.
Should we hum the theme to the Jaws movie?
What do you have, Galen?
So this question's pretty timely. With the holidays coming up, is wrapping paper recyclable? So let's talk about what we learned. Things that are all one ingredient, all paper without plastic, is recyclable, or metal. So if you've got paper that looks just like paper. It doesn't look like it's got plastic bits in it, like glitter or metallic stuff in it, then it's recyclable. But a lot, when you go look for wrapping paper, a lot of wrapping paper you're going to look at does have metallic elements now or has little plastic glittery things in it. So the best thing to do is to take a look at it, and if it looks like it's all paper, then it's recyclable. If it at all looks like anything else, just throw it out. But better yet, don't buy it.
Right. I'm also thinking about holiday cards. Some people still do the tradition of sending those out. Do you have some tips on either reducing that or what kind of materials they should be purchasing if they are going to keep going
Right.
forward?
Same thing. Use 100% paper if you can. Reuse them. We have a lot of people who collect old holiday cards, take the picture part out and paste it on to paper to make a new card out of it. But again, we're in a stage where people can use email instead. You can make little handwritten cards much better than going out and buying a stack. I don't know if you guys have done this, but I often buy like 50 Christmas cards and only get around to mailing 2, and then they sit in my drawer. So just buy what you need or don't buy them at all.
And I think another thing really to keep in mind during the holiday season is that during that about 1 month period between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we make about 25% of the waste that we make during the year. So we make a ton of waste during the holiday season, and anything that you can do to reduce that waste is really going to go a long, long way. So it's an especially important time of year to think about waste reduction and not just recycling. You know, and that includes food waste. If you have a party and you have lots of food, take it to a shelter or a food bank. You know, consider renting dishes for a party rather than buying throwaway material. All of those things make a difference during the holidays because it's a particularly wasteful time of year.
Okay, it's that time to announce the winner. Judges.
Can I just say it was really, really hard? It was hard. And I want to just say thank you, all 3 of you, for coming in tonight and doing this with us. So you guys are awesome.
The winner of the
I'm not gonna say.
Reuse Rumble.
We can say it together.
We'll say it together.
Kelly
Kelly
Williams
Brown.
Oh, Kelly Williams Brown, come forward and claim your trophy.
This is amazing. This is really something.
Would you like to make a speech?
Oh my God! I didn't prepare a speech because I was so sure, that it was going to go to Meryl Streep over here. But no, this is awesome, and thank you all so much for coming up with a really cool project, and also a great way for people to just learn about how we can all make our city a healthier, cleaner place. So thanks to y'all for having us.
Thank you so much. All 3 challengers really brought it tonight, and I really appreciate just seeing the plethora of different creative ideas out here. And I also want to point out they're all out of Creative Reuse. I visited Mecca in Eugene, which is a Creative Reuse center. I also gleaned stuff from my house that I had been collecting and looked through my recycling bin. So you too can do that. I also want to thank our judges today. We have Julie Jackson for Republic Services. We have Galen McAllister from Garden. Galen, could you, and Alan Pennington, my coworker, sorry. But Galen, really quickly, there's a breakfast that people can attend. I was wondering if you could talk about that really
Great.
quickly.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about that. So we know people are very curious about recycling, so we do a tour of our recycling facility the first Friday of every month, and it comes with breakfast. So you come, you have breakfast with us, we talk about recycling, and then we show you the process so you can see where everything you put in the blue bin goes. And you can RSVP to me at gmcallister@garten.org, or go to our website, garten.org, and you will find out all about it.
Great. And I again want to thank our challengers, David Fox, Kelly Williams Brown, Emma Jonas. Be sure to tune in next time, Wednesday, November 28th, live on Facebook and at Capital City Theater here in Salem. For more information, visit mcrecycles.net. Thanks for tuning in. Reduce, reuse, recycle, and good night.